Okay, thank you, Blaze. And I think the boot camps that you were talking about is a great way to jump off here because I went to a boot camp. I've been to 3 boot camps now, and I'm going to go to another one next week. And when I went to Nick Horner's boot camp in Florida, he said, go to as many boot camps as you can because you're going to learn something different at every boot camp from every person who's doing the training. And, Aaron Guterman is the best, and he was the first boot camp I went to. But what changed for me was going to this one particular boot camp in Florida. So I think it was my first or second day in TLG. I was shocked when the person did not want mortgage payment protection, and she wanted something to cover her full amount of the mortgage, $200,000 or something, and she could only qualify for maybe $20,000, and so I didn't imagine why she only wanted that amount. So 90 days later now, having learned how to deal with this on a much different level, I don't get pushback on mortgage payment protection anymore. And so that's what I want to share with you guys today. And the reason is because my goal in my entire presentation is to remove any objections before they even know that they exist. So I want to go over with you a little bit of what I learned from Paul Moses, who is direct to Bill South, direct to Nick Horner, and they were the 3 who were teaching the boot camp in Florida. And so I have to give credit to this to Paul Moses. And when I went home, changed my presentation, and applied this material, then I made 13,000. I did 13,000 AP the next week and was #1 producer. So I had a great time giving Nick credit for helping me to become #1 producer in his competition. So I thought that was great. Okay, so we can learn from everyone. I learned from Brittany. You'll see that in this I've added a line from Brittany, and but we're always trying to master my craft, and I think that we can never become perfect in this, so we're always growing, and I'm certainly still brand new, but here's some things that I've learned from other people, and they've really helped me a lot. So a couple things that I want to just bring out is that the power of 3. Whenever I am doing any kind of a sales presentation, I'm always looking to group everything into 3s. And so as you listen to what I share with you tonight, you'll probably see a lot of groups of 3s. And that's because people can relate to groups of 3s. It's a little bit more than just 2 choices. It's not so much that it's overwhelming. Sometimes in the information that we have to share with them, we have to give more than 3, but I am always looking to group things into 3s. And then I want to share with you the power of stories. And a story can really transform a whole sales presentation. And if you don't have your own true story, which many of us don't, then you can use someone else's story. And so what I'm going to share with you tonight is how someone else's story has transformed my time with the people. And one of the main things that I took away from the training that I got from Paul Moses is that rather than this being a sales presentation, I have taken everything that's salesy out, or just about everything that's salesy out, and turned it into a conversation instead. And so it's almost a seamless approach from the building the rapport to the whole conversation. And the whole time just feels like, hey, I'm just sitting down and having a good time with these people. So that's a little bit of background on what we're going to do, what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the whole presentation, and then I'm just going to focus in on the part that I found really helps take away a lot of the objections, especially the one to mortgage payment protection. So in the first half, I'm building the rapport, and then I immediately I introduce myself briefly, go into the why. Now, I'm going to pull out that emotion 3 times in this presentation. So the first time we're pulling out the motion is the why. That's, why did you send in the form? And we all know how to do that. So then I'm going to, I kind of go into this part. I'm going to give you just real briefly kind of hit and miss in the first half here. So after the why, okay, I really get that. So, Mary, it makes perfect sense to me, and I totally appreciate what you're saying. It's really hard to talk about death and sickness. It's no fun. I know that talking about Mary dying is really hard, but the good news is that this stuff is super easy to solve, so let's get on with solving what your concerns are today. So I'm going to take you through 3 steps here to solve this problem right now, and by the time I get here, now I'm pointing to the bottom of the page, I'm doing a lot of work on this paper here. You guys are going to be thinking, all right, problem solved. Deal? Deal. Okay, so here are the 3 things that we're going to do today. First, we're going to do a small financial analysis, just to make sure I'm taking you down the right road. And then second, depending on the outcome of the financial analysis, I'm going to explain to you how mortgage protection works and what it does. And third, I will show each of you 3 options, and then you guys will choose your plan. Because if I'm just going to come out here and talk to you guys and educate you, then I should be charging you $150 for a seminar, right? So after all, Mary, I'm kind of cutting a little bit here. After all, Mary, that you said that you would be out on the street if Joe got sick, right? So are we all on board and committed to that 3-step plan for the day? All right, so now we'll go over any objections that might come up, and then we're going to do the financial analysis. Now, I think I'm going to be teaching on the financial analysis that I do on another day because I need to go into that in more depth. So I'm going to kind of skip the financial analysis for today, but it's just important to understand in the big picture of how we're doing this, that this plays a major, major role in it. Okay, so we get to the end of the financial analysis, and then we do the part where we cross out one person at a time and ask them. So Mary, Joe just got hit by a bus and doesn't come home, or what? Sorry, I lost that place here. So what is your world going to look like? Give me a word or a phrase to describe how you'd feel. And when I ask that question, I'm going to write it down. I use a red pen. You can use whatever you want, but I use a red pen kind of on the side of the paper, and I write down those words or phrases, and I ask each one for those words or phrases. And usually the man doesn't want to give them to me, and that's fine. So I will go back and ask him, okay, I understand financially that you think that you can make it, but what does your world look like emotionally? What do you feel? And about half the time, I'm still not going to get that out of the man. And so that's when I share a personal story that I have. So and I say, I understand. We don't always know how we're going to respond because we haven't gone through this before. So my dad is probably the strongest man I know, both physically and emotionally. And we all thought, because he had some physical problems, we all thought he was going to die before my mom. But 10 years ago, she died of cancer. And when she died, my dad was actually on suicide watch for 24/7 for the next 6 months. Nobody expected that to happen. Nobody saw that coming. And if he had had to, thank goodness that the house was paid for, because if he had had to pack everything up or sort everything through and try to put the house on the market in those 6 months, there's no way he could have done that. Absolutely no way. So we don't know how we're going to respond. So I try to put the man at ease there, but let him know that it hits men really hard too, even though they think it's not going to. Okay? So then basically I'm getting through the normal part, hard for me to remember without going through the whole part here. All right, so, when I see situations like this, I hear words like bleak and on the street. Maybe those were the words that they told me what their world looks like. Then we need to continue our conversation, because if I could show you a way, in fact, if I could show you 6 ways to keep this from happening, do you all want to hear that? So I'm very concerned, Joe and Mary, and you all should be very concerned at this point because you are all going to lose your house if I don't throw you a life preserver. So I'm going to throw you a life preserver right now. So let me take a moment to explain to you how mortgage protection works. Now, for you guys, I'm going to do this whether they have mortgage protection or mortgage payment protection, and I'm going to show you the difference in the middle of it. But for the most part, 99% of this is all the same. Mortgage protection is like a car. It comes with 3 seatbelts. The first seatbelt is that mortgage protection provides a death benefit. Now, Mary, you mentioned that you have a $20,000 30-year term life insurance policy with Mutual of Omaha. Mary, what has to happen to you in order for Joe to get that $20,000? I thought Aaron was going to be role-playing with me, but I guess he's not here. So she will say, I have to die. So if you don't die, how much does he get? Nothing. So what good is this to you during your lifetime? Now, Joe, you mentioned to me that you have a $200,000 life insurance policy with work. Are you planning on dying while you are still employed at your current job? Joe, what has to happen to you in order for Mary to get that $200,000? You have to die.
Hey, Jen, I can
if
role
you
play.
Don't...
I can role play. Sorry, I was not. Jen, I'm on mute, but I can role play with you. So.
Okay, so I'll you be Joe. Okay, you be Blaze. Okay, now Blaze, you mentioned to me that you have a $200,000 life insurance policy with work. Are you planning on dying while you are still employed at your current job?
No, of course not.
Okay, so most life insurance policies at work don't pay out because they are just designed for while you're at your current job. Most people plan on retiring before, and so they actually never get to use that $200,000 life insurance policy that they have at work. Now, Joe, what does have to happen to you in order for Mary to get that $200,000?
Well, I'd have to die.
Okay, and if you don't die, how much does she get?
Nothing.
So what good does that money do for you while you are alive?
Well, I guess it doesn't do anything.
Okay, and does it do Mary any good either?
No.
Okay, so with a death benefit, Mary, you die, he gets the money. Joe, you die, she gets the money. But you didn't need me to come out here for that because you already know how life insurance works. But that's how it works, and this is part of it. All of these things are seatbelts, right? Because they're all part of the car. You can't get one without the other. So the first thing it does is, yeah, if you die, he gets the money, and if you die, she gets the money. You with me so far?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So this is what mortgage protection does. So now at this point, and I am drawing things on the paper here, and the first one, I write on the bottom third of the paper, basically I'm writing mortgage protection. I'm drawing 3 lines. The first box is on the left-hand side. I write death inside that box. And then there's the middle box here now I draw, and I'm going to draw a line from the first box to the second box. I know it's kind of hard to picture right now.
By the way,
yes.
When you get done with this call, I want you to snap a picture of the back of your lead or whatever that looks like at the end of your appointment and post that up on the Facebook group, just so people can get an idea of what you're saying.
Right. Okay. All right. All right. So, so mortgage protection converts this money, death benefit, into a bucket of money that you can use while you're still alive. Mortgage protection, among other things, is protection that you don't have to die to use. All you have to do is get sick. That's called a living benefit. Now, what do I mean by sick? Joe, you're a roofer. Let's say you break your ankle on the roof. That's not sick. That's workers' comp, right? So, Mary, let's say that you're in a car accident and you hurt your back. That's not sick. That's automobile insurance. We've talked about automobile insurance before, so she understands here. I'm talking sick. If you have ALS, Alzheimer's, life-threatening cancer, heart attack, stroke, major organ or kidney failure, or if the doctor gives you 12 months or less to live, or 24 months in Texas because everything is always bigger in Texas, you can access up to either 50% or 95% of the face amount of your insurance in cash. Now, if I know they're just going to do term, I'm going to say 95%. If I know they're just going to do, they're just eligible for whole life, I'm going to say 50%. If I know that one is eligible for whole life and one is eligible for term, I'm going to say 50% or 95%, depending on which product you choose, basically. If you can't perform 2 out of 6 daily living activities, feed yourself, dress yourself, bathe yourself, toileting, transferring from the bed to the chair, cognitive issues, for a period of 90 days or more, then you can access up to 24% per year until you reach that 95%. So I'm talking sick. You get money. Now, if you are in a real bad accident and after 90 days you still can't take care of yourself, you can access 24% of your bucket of cash. Now, you always have to leave at least 5% on the death benefit side. That's what makes this an insurance policy, and that's what makes this a non-taxable event. When something happens down the road and you get sick, you're going to remember that we talked, and you're going to call me, and then we're going to fill out a form, and you get money in 7 to 10 days. Now, what can you do with that money? Anything you want to. I'll give you some easy ones. You can pay the mortgage. You can pay the grocery bill. You can pay the utilities, keep the lights on, and keep the gas in the car, and so you can get to the doctor and the pharmacy. Maybe you need to pay medical bills. Or maybe you just want to do something on your bucket list and you go to the Bahamas and die there. I don't care. You can do whatever you want with that money, but I would suggest that you use it wisely. You with me so far, Joe and Mary?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Now, most of our companies have been around for well over 100 years or so, but this program is kind of new. They finally figured out one way to let you have your cake and eat it too. So that's the second thing that it does. Any questions so far?
No questions.
Okay. But there's a third thing that it does. Now, I'm going to draw another box over here, and then I lay my pen down, and then I do get serious. So this affords me the opportunity to tell you a true story. Now, just an interlude here. This story is about Bill South, and Bill South has given us permission to use this story. And so I call him my business partner just for the sake of the story. He's in TLG, so in a way, he's our business partner, okay? So Bill is my business partner, and this is a true story about Bill's brother, Alan, and his wife, Linda. So Alan was a big-time IBM executive, and he made lots of money, but his dream, his passion in life had always been to write country music. So he retired. Let me stop here. This is where you put on a show. This is where you become an actor or an actress. You use all of your gestures that you can. You point to things that are happening in real life in their house, in their family. You bring them into it, but you're just going to put on a show here, okay? So he retired early. He cashed in all of his stock options, his retirement, his 401k. He took all of his money, and they bought the home of their dreams in Nashville. Now, a couple months into his retirement, he noticed that his fingers weren't quite working right. And being a typical male, he just went right on about his life, didn't think a thing of it, until he got to the point where finally he just couldn't play that guitar anymore, and he was forced to go to the doctor. So the doctor ran a bunch of tests, sent him to some specialists. They ran a bunch of tests. And finally, they diagnosed him with a very rare form of Parkinson's. Now, Parkinson's normally affects just 1/2 of the brain, which is why Muhammad Ali was able to light that Olympic torch. But Alan was diagnosed with a form that affected both halves of his brain. And within about 3 months, he had become a complete vegetable. And he stayed in that state for about 3.5 years. Now, during those 3.5 years, Linda spent $7,100 a month just on his care. That wasn't on his wheelchair. That wasn't for that harness to take him in and out of bed every day. That wasn't for his feeding tube or his doctor's bills or his prescriptions. It was just for people to come into the house to help her take care of Alan. $7,100 a month. Now, in December of 2015, Alan died, and Bill, my partner, went up for the funeral, and he was talking to Linda, and she was very upset and crying, of course. And she says, Bill, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm completely broke. We spent all the money that Alan had saved up for retirement, and I haven't been able to pay the mortgage in 3 months. I don't know what to do. So Bill says to Linda, well, why don't you go to the bank and talk to them? Maybe they have some kind of a special program for you, an ABABA program or something. So Linda went to the bank, and what do you think the bank told her?
They told her, we don't have a bereavement program.
Okay. They said, I'm very sorry, but you have 3 months to come current on your loan and never be late again, or we're going to take your house from you. Sign right here. And she had to sign that she understood. Thankfully, Linda had some family and friends who were able to help her get the house ready to put it on the market. So they cleaned everything up inside. They painted it inside and out. They did some landscaping and mowed the lawn, because when your husband or wife is dying, the last thing you think about doing is mowing the grass, right? So by the end of January, they were finally able to get it on the market. And February, March, April came. About 8 or 9 people came and looked at the house, but no offers. So March comes around. I don't know if you can hear that, but I knocked 3 times real slowly on their table. May comes around, sorry, and they usually say it's the bank. So the bank brings 2 visitors with him. First visitor is the sheriff. The sheriff takes Linda out, puts her on the curb. That was the last time she ever saw the inside of her house again. Second visitor was the moving company. The moving company takes her dining room table. At this point, I actually lift the edge of the dining room table. Her dog, if they have animals, I'll point to them. The pictures on the walls, the ones that we talked about when I came in at the beginning, talked about those pictures. Those are the ones I'm going to point to. Her bedroom set, just anything personal. They took all of her stuff and they put it out on the curb next to Linda. So Linda's sitting out in the street just sobbing and crying. She doesn't know what she's going to do. And finally, her neighbors feel sorry for her, and they get together a few $100s and give her a U-Haul so that she can take her stuff, find a place to go take it. So in the space of 4 months, Linda lost her spouse, she lost her house, and she lost the $225,000 equity that she had built up. They had built up in the house, because when the bank forecloses on your house, they also take every dime you've ever paid them as well. You don't get your equity back. 1/3 of all foreclosures are due to death or a health crisis. So that is why mortgage protection is so necessary. Let's be honest, the bank doesn't care what tragedy you're going through. They just care about getting their next mortgage payment. Linda's never going to be the same. And it's not because Linda is not educated or weak or inexperienced. It's because she had no time. No time to grieve, no time to heal, no time to make any decisions. The bank was running her post-Allen life and making all her decisions for her. Now, and I'm going to point to my death benefit box again. Do you think if Allen would have had life insurance, that would have helped Linda? Joe?
Yeah, definitely.
Of course, sometimes they don't know. Of course, a life insurance policy pays out immediately upon death. So Linda would have been able to come current on her mortgage, and that would have given her enough time to decide what she needed to do from there. Now, do you think that if Alan had had a bucket of money he could have used when he got sick, that would have helped Linda?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, absolutely. Linda never would have gotten behind in the first place if she had a bucket of money to pay the mortgage while he was still sick. So at the end of the day, what did Linda need the most? At the end of the day, and I'm going to write in my box that has been sitting here empty the whole time, I'm going to spell it out real slow, Time. And they're going to read it usually. So at the end of the day, Linda needed time. Because if she had had a couple months more in time, she could have sold that house for $226,000. Who cares? But at least she would have had time to grieve, time to heal, and time to make her own decisions in life, right? So do you guys see how this keeps the bleak, the homeless, the on the street away, those words that you told me earlier? Do you see how this protects you? Whether you use mortgage protection as a death benefit or whether you use your bucket of money as a living benefit, in the end, the most important thing that mortgage protection does is that it buys you time. Time to grieve, time to heal, time to decide what you need to do in life. Now, do you have any questions for me about this?
Where do I sign up?
Okay, now, do you want me to show you a couple examples?
Yes.
Okay, let's see here. All right, now let me skip down. Because I'm focusing on mortgage payment protection, let me skip down and we're going to do just that part. All right, Mary, I would love to be able to do this. I would love, everybody wants the Bentley, but the reality is that at your life stage, isn't it a miracle in and of itself that we're even sitting here talking about protection for you today? So what we can do is this. We can do this amount, which will buy you 3 years of time in the house for you and your family. Linda didn't have 3 years. She had 4 months. You will have 3 years to grieve, 3 years to heal, 3 years to make your own decisions, where you and your family can gather around the table and make plans and decide what you're going to do without Joe and not have to be in a rush to sell this place. Do you think this place will sell in 3 years?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, all right. And then this option will buy you 2 years of time when Joe dies, Mary, and then this option will buy you 1 year of time when Joe dies. So this will be enough to pay your mortgage for 1, 2, or 3 years when Joe dies, which will give you time to heal, time to grieve, and time to make all the decisions you need to make to go on with life. Of these 3 options, Joe and Mary, which one best fits your needs and, most importantly, your budget?
Probably option number 2.
All right, great. So what I have done there, and one other thing that I failed to say at the beginning is that for the first half of the presentation, they do 99% of the talking. So by the time I get to telling that story, they have talk, and they're actually ready to listen. And I have had even some of the hardest men when I thought, should I tell them the story or not? And they just sat there just raptured with the story. And everyone becomes emotional with the story. I've had some people break down in tears and start crying. But the story is very, very powerful, and it brings home every single aspect of mortgage protection that we could ever want, all in one story. And people will relate. You don't know what part of it they're going to relate to, so you want to bring in the whole story because there's some part that's going to just trigger something with them. And stories are a far more powerful way than some slick sales presentation. So I went from doing the slick sales presentation to doing the develop a relationship for the first half and then tell the story, and it almost just closes itself. The objections are very, very few now, and as far as mortgage payment protection, since I started doing this, I've had 0 objections to it.